Hey, hey, hey. Time for another Out of This World story from rSpace. Isn't it hilarious and a little terrifying when you have to break out Urban Dictionary to figure out what your wife's been up to behind your back? Today on rSpace, a cheater searching for the fountain of youth in all the wrong ways. My wife arranged a one-night stand with two men. I exposed her to everyone and ruined her life. You might think that the worst thing that a partner can do is cheat on you, but I promise that it can get worse than that. I wouldn't have thought that it could get worse if not for what I had to deal with, and to be honest, I think that this has broken me mentally. It's going to take a long time for me to get over this. I hope that I do one day, but for now, I'm just going to try to sort out what I'm dealing with right now. My wife and I have been married for 13 years now. She literally just turned 40, and I think that's a big reason as to why all of this ended up happening. We've had what I think is a very solid marriage. Obviously, if you've been married for as long as we have, you're bound to have had some rough patches, and we have too. However, before now, there's never been an episode so bad that I felt like we'd have to divorce or take a break from each other. That's why it is so hard for me to understand how things have gone as wrong as they've gone now. So the first thing that I need to say is that we've been okay in terms of most metrics in life. We're not wealthy, but we're rather comfortable. We have good jobs and plenty of hobbies that we like to engage in. We go on vacations twice a year. We don't have children because neither of us wanted children. I don't know about her, but I've never felt empty or like there was something big missing from what we had. We're open with each other too. So if she felt that way, I'd have hoped that she'd mention what more she wanted from me in our marriage. My wife isn't crazy about intimacy. We get our time in the bedroom rather often, but I'm usually the one initiating. I also try to introduce new things so that we can keep things fresh. I've also always been open to finding out whether there's anything she's into that we can explore. But for the most part, she's seemed vanilla. Remember that I said that I think her age played a big part in the whole thing that went down? Let me try to explain that. Before she turned 40, I could tell that she was very concerned about hitting that age. I felt a sort of way before I turned 30 because I felt like I hadn't achieved anything in my life. In her case, I think her big concern with turning 40 was the typical feminine concern of her beauty beginning to fade and her age starting to show. I always told her that she's always looked gorgeous to me, and I wasn't just saying that. I believe it, or believed it, because after everything, she's changed in my eyes. Let me try and get into everything that happened. I'll do my best not to turn this into a long-winded rant, because I have so many emotions bottled up over this, and there hasn't been anyone who I can properly tell all of this to. Things started a few weeks after my wife turned 40. I noticed that she seemed to be in a low mood, which was unusual because she has always been someone who was excited about her birthday. But I knew enough to know that a 40th is very different from the previous birthdays. So I did everything I could to make her feel better. I'm 43, so I passed that milestone quite some time ago, and I tried to let her know that it wasn't the end of the world or anything. I know that the emotions a woman feels going to 40 are very different from a man, though. Anyway, the actual birthday came and we had a little get-together with a bunch of really good friends. That part she really enjoyed. It seemed like she had a great day, and that made me happy. However, a few days later, her mood dropped again, and it stayed there for some weeks. I tried my best to find out what the problem was, but she really wasn't open. She was saying that nothing was the problem. It started to annoy me a little bit because we've never had an issue talking to each other. I found out what the problem was when I was taking a nap and one of her friends came over. I didn't plan anything, I just woke up randomly, and when I did, I headed to the living room to go and say hi, but I heard that people were speaking in hushed tones, so I stopped. It was really hard to hear what they were saying, but I'm pretty sure that I heard some lines about youth and some guys. Then I heard a little bit of giggling. After that, I walked in, and they tried to act normal almost immediately. Her friends started talking about something different, but I knew they weren't talking about that at all. I said hi and acted as if I hadn't heard them before. I felt like I was going to talk to my wife about it after her friend left, but I had a strong feeling that she wasn't going to tell me the truth because she hadn't been forthcoming the entire time. She seemed to be in a better mood after the friend left, and when I mentioned that, she said that it was just nice to have a chat with her friend after so long. If I hadn't heard them whispering before, I might have actually believed that. When she went to sleep that night, I grabbed her phone and read through her messages with her friend. The conversation before the friend had come had my wife admit that 40 felt old to her, and she felt like she wasn't as desirable as she was when she was younger. She said that despite the fact that I paid her compliments and always craved her in bed, it seemed like I only did that because I was obligated to as her husband. Apparently, she missed being attractive to strangers. I sort of understood it, to be honest. I can understand how a random person hitting on you helps boost your self-esteem or whatever. I don't think it is something that should ruin your life and make you all mopey though. After the friend left, my wife told her that she was going to try out what you suggested. And then her friend replied with a laugh and 2 eggplant emojis. I didn't like the way that made me feel. It didn't feel like there was anything good behind what they were talking about, especially because both of them were avoiding saying too much. I hoped that it had something to do with me, so over the next few days, I tried to see if she would initiate things in the bedroom or if she would try something new if we got intimate, but I didn't notice anything different. However, about a week after her friend came, I noticed that she seemed to be in a very good mood. This was about a full month after her birthday. I was happy to see her like that, and I asked her what she was smiling about, but she just gave me vague answers. For some reason, I felt unsettled by the entire thing. There wasn't any really good reason for me to be suspicious, but I was. It just didn't feel right to me. So that night, I decided to go through her phone again. This time around, I searched and searched, but the only real thing I found was in her messages with her friend. She mentioned that she had given something a shot and that it had gone amazing. Then her friend called her. So I have no idea what happened then. However, they spoke for close to an hour, so they had a lot to talk about. My wife didn't tell me about anything that went amazing, so it was clear I was being left out of the loop on something. It was entirely on a whim, but since I had checked her messages on her phone and on her socials, I decided to take a look at her email to see if there was going to be any hints there. I found a lot more than I reckoned for there. I found a few emails from names that I couldn't recognize, and it was the subject line of one of them, Craigslist ad, that got me. I'm absolutely furious remembering all of this, but the gist of what was in those emails was that my wife had apparently put up an ad on Craigslist looking for 2 clean men to have a threesome with. The man attached an image of STD test results and a picture of himself. There were about 5 other emails like that in her inbox, and looking at all of them, I was able to piece together that this woman had posted an ad looking for a threesome and for 2 men comfortable with DP. I had to Google what that meant, and I swear that I wanted to strangle her in her sleep. I'm not proud to say it, but I was so mad. I don't think I've ever been that angry in my life. I don't have to be Sherlock to know that she chose 2 guys based on the 2 guys that she replied to all thirsty, had a threesome with them, and then had them DP her. One of them sent her an email after the fact, but she didn't reply to it because I assume it was meant to be a one-night stand to make her feel young again. It was so pathetic to me. Is that how strong the urge to be desired is for women? Is that really how it is? I'm going to confront her, but before I do, I'm writing this all out because I really want to realize how horrible what she did is. I want to see it from the perspective that anyone else would see it. We have 13 years of marriage under our belt, and I don't want that to sway me in any way. I'm kicking her to the curb, no matter what. I'm typing this at 4 a.m. while she sleeps, but I will have an update for you by tomorrow. The fact that you had to Google what she was talking about? Oof. It doesn't sound like she was trying to rekindle the spark between you. It sounds like she went looking for an entirely new fire, one that had nothing to do with the life you've built together. Update 1. Is it wrong for me to say that I hate my wife? I really do hate her now. I can't believe how much I love this woman. How many things have I sacrificed for her? But the entire time, she really wasn't crap. Isn't that crazy? I guess it's better that I found out who she was now so I can get rid of her and ruin her life. But I hate her so much for everything that she's put me through. So, as soon as the morning came, I told her to call off from work, that I had something to speak to her about. It was clear that it was something serious, and I'm sure that she must have had a feeling that I had found out about what she had done somehow. I'm sure she would have never expected me to find out literally the next day. I like to think that made things extra uneasy for her. Once she called off from work, I jumped right into it. I asked her why she had been moody the last few days. This was the first time she was forthcoming. She said it was because she felt she was getting old, and it was starting to show on her physically. I asked her what she thought the fix for that was, and she said nothing. I asked again, and she said that building her self-esteem and being realistic about body standards as she aged. I nodded and told her that was a good answer. I asked her why she didn't do that, and she tried to act confused. I asked her to tell me what she had chosen to do to feel better about herself and to feel desired. At that point, I could see that she had started to shake. She was trembling because she knew I had found out about what she had done. I didn't save her from silence. I kept looking right at her, and she kept averting her eyes. I urged her to give me an answer because if I had to say it for her, she wouldn't like it. She still didn't say anything, so I went straight into it. I told her that she had cheated on me and that she didn't do it with one person, but she did it with 2 people. You'd think being cheated on is bad, but you don't know how bad it is when your wife chooses to do it like an absolute slut. I told her I knew her friend had played a part in it too, and that she was very stupid to have just listened to her friend like a child. Obviously, I wasn't blaming it all on the friend because her friend didn't put up the Craigslist ads for her to go into the hotel where they had done their thing. She had done that all on her own. She had it in her to cheat on me, and she was fully accountable for that. I told her that there was no way I would have forgiven her even if she had cheated on me with one person, but the fact that she had did it with two people was enough for me, and that she had done it in such a lewd fashion didn't help. I asked her if she felt young now. Was that all that she needed? Did it fix the situation and make everything right? Despite how angry I was, I started laughing, and that scared her. I saw her grip the armchair as if she wanted to spring out of the seat and run, and for some reason, that made me laugh even more. Because why was it that she would cheat on me with two guys, knowing what could have happened if I found out, and then she got scared of the consequences? I stood up and got in her face. I told her that she had messed up big time. She didn't need to worry so much because we were definitely over, and I'd be speaking to a divorce lawyer in the morning. I told her not to mess with me during the divorce or I'd make sure to ruin her life. I let her know to be out of the house by the evening, and then I headed out. By the evening, she was nowhere to be seen, which made me glad. I had gone to meet a divorce lawyer during the day. I paid his retainer and told him everything that he needed to know, because I needed the papers to be ready as soon as possible, and I made that clear to him. That's where we are right now. So in a few weeks, I should hopefully have the final update for all of you, and hopefully it will be good news for me. Update 2. Nothing is going to heal the pain of being cheated on and watching a relationship that you cherished and built up fall apart. Absolutely nothing will fix that. But at least I was able to make myself feel better through revenge and a divorce that went perfectly. I'm not an angry guy, but I think that the way she saw me act during the confrontation really scared her. It scared her a lot. My threat seemed to do enough for her to actually behave during the divorce process. We didn't even need to go to court. I would stay in the house where we were renting. I would keep the car. She would keep her car. And that would be it. She worked a good job, so I completely avoided alimony, though she briefly fought for it, and that pissed me off. I'm sure that her lawyer was able to sway her on that count. Regardless of whether she had let the divorce go my way or not, I was already going to expose her, because getting what was rightfully mine in the divorce wasn't what I'd consider to be punishment for her. She needed to feel a fraction of the pain that I felt, so I decided to expose her to the world. But before that, I reached out to the husband of the friend who had encouraged her to cheat, and I told him the entire story, including the screenshots of his wife spurring on my wife to cheat. It was important that he knew the kind of person he was married to because I was almost certain that she was a cheater too. He thanked me for letting me know, and he said he'd make sure to do something about it. Then, I went straight to opening up a group chat, adding everyone that she knew, including her boss and a few coworkers who I was friendly with, and I sent the evidence that I had. I made sure to include a description to explain what they were looking at. Then I told them to direct any questions that they had to my ex-wife, not to me, because I wouldn't be responding to anyone. And with that, I left the group chat. I also blocked my ex because I didn't need to hear her shouting at me about the whole situation. I should have expected that her not being able to reach me would mean that she'd come looking for me, especially because I was still in the same apartment. I knew it was her when I heard her pounding on the door in the evening. I really didn't want to answer, but she kept on pounding. I told her to leave because I wasn't going to let her in. She started screaming and she sounded somewhat intoxicated. At that point, I decided to call the police. She was still pounding on the door when they came around, and she only stopped when they were close enough for me to hear them outside my door. At that point, I opened the door and almost instinctively she charged at me. One cop tried to restrain her, but she threw an elbow into his face, hitting him in the jaw. He was fine, but that was all the officer needed to see to drop her to the ground. To be honest, it was very satisfying for me. I felt like a bad person, but it felt like everything that she deserved. It also didn't help that she started cursing at me when they picked her up off the ground. She tried to spit on me, but only ended up getting it on one of the officers, so she ended up being put in a spit hood, and then they got her to the car. I made sure to take a video of as much as I could because I knew it'd be something I'd enjoy watching in the future. She was charged with battery on a law enforcement officer and disorderly conduct. She hasn't been to court for it, but it has apparently done plenty of damage. Even though she was advised not to contact me, she sent me a message from another number, telling me that I had ruined her life. She said that she had listened to me and didn't contest anything in the divorce, yet I still exposed her and got her arrested. It was her own actions, not mine. She said she had lost her job, too, though that was the first I had heard of that. I replied, telling her that she had done it all to herself by cheating. I couldn't trust her, so she shouldn't have trusted me when I said I wouldn't expose her. The last thing I told her was to never contact me again, and that was it. I blocked the other number, and since then, I haven't spoken to her. She'll bounce back at some point, I'm sure, but for now, I'm so glad that she's gone through pain. She deserves nothing less than that, honestly, because I'm still hurting over all this. So now it is her turn. I'll be okay eventually. Isn't it funny how cheaters always act like we're the ones who ruined their life? Like, excuse me, but last I checked, it was their choices that blew everything up, not our reactions to it. They go and make a complete mess, then turn around and play the victim like the universe is out to get them. When someone pulls a stunt that wild, the only fitting response is to go full blast and make sure that there's no chance of anything smoldering quietly in the background. You obliterated the whole thing, and honestly, after all that, you deserve to walk away standing tall while the rest burns to ash. Way to go, OP. Hold that head up high. If you found out your partner's version of feeling younger again involved totally blowing up your relationship, what would you do? Let us know in the comments. And thank you for joining us today on rSpace. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. Until next time.